Hello and welcome back to yet another Loose Heads podcast in association with Talking Rugby Union. Rugby returned to our lives last weekend, which I think we were all glad to see as Super Rugby kicked things off over in New Zealand. And there was a bit of a New Zealand feel to the podcast last week. We were lucky to be joined by Dane Coles and Joe Marchant, who featured on the podcast. So if you haven't listened to any of them already, it really is worth listening to get a bit of an insight into Southern Hemisphere Rugby and Super Rugby as well. And it was great to chat to Dane and Joe. And I know Rob Shotton, who once again joins us on the podcast today, enjoyed chatting to Joe about how good New Zealand is, Rob. And I'm pretty sure you sold it extremely well.
I did, yeah. I think I've mentioned New Zealand too many times now in the podcast. I've had a few people telling me to stop and shut up about New Zealand now.
And of course, Rob joins me this afternoon alongside fellow Loose Heads co-founders Mark Shotton and Dave Nichol. Guys, how are we today?
Very well, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Great to have the full complement back as well, Mark.
Yeah, sorry I ducked out of the last one. Yeah.
No, we're a better team with you in it, Mark. That was a quick consensus we came to. Well, it's probably about time now. I've whittled on for a bit. We introduce our next guest to the podcast, and between myself, Dave, Mark, and Rob, we've been quite setting the bar high in terms of the guests we've had on the podcast since we launched this 3 months ago, and I'm pretty sure our next guest firmly falls under that bracket. It's a pleasure to welcome three-time Grand Slam winner, former British and Irish Lion, and current scrum coach at Harlequins, Adam Jones, to the podcast. Adam, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. How's things with you?
Yeah, good, thanks. Yeah. Well, it's been a strange old time, isn't it? But it's I've been back in Wales for as long as I've been back in Wales for since I've been in the Quins now. So I've been quite appreciative and of what everyone's doing, trying to just have a bit of time in Wales has been great.
Yeah, well, I was going to call you Adam the Bomb Jones, Adam, but I've not got any confidence whatsoever to go with that title at the moment, so we'll stick with Adam, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine, mate.
So, you mentioned there, Adam, that you've been back in Wales during this lockdown period. I mean, you do obviously commute between London and Wales, so has it been quite nice being back at home during this time? Yeah,
it's been fun. It's been, as I said, I haven't had a chance to do it much, really. Only like one day here or there sort of thing, and then before pre-season. But yeah, I haven't missed the travelling. I got to be honest with you. I think not even the travelling. It's I can't seem to stop going past. Can't go past a service station without someone stopping it, and so that's been actually pretty good. So I've enjoyed it a lot, and yeah, I know everyone wants to get back to rugby, but I'm one of those. As long as it's safe first, then we can crack into it. But I'm sure we'll come back soon enough.
Absolutely, Adam. And on the podcast over sort of the last few months we've been doing this, obviously the COVID-19 situation's been going on, and we've talked about how connecting with people has been really important during this time, Adam, for mental health reasons. And obviously the Loose Heads podcast is all about raising awareness for mental health, and they use rugby as a platform to do so as well. So how important is it for guys to connect through rugby to raise awareness for mental health, do you think, Adam?
Oh, it's massive. As you said, it's it's a tough time for everyone else, isn't it? And regardless of what situation it's a tough thing to do. And I think just the little things like just speaking to mates, that's it's a massive thing. Even we do sort of quizzes or every weekend and stuff. So something to almost look forward to, and gives you something to as I said, look forward to, because I think we're a lot more locked down than you guys. So, we still aren't, we're still very much under lock and key a bit for 5 miles anyway. So, seeing family and that, and, just, is a tough one. And, but no, it's huge, it's certainly I've used it as a time to sort of upskill myself in different things, around the mental side of the game or the tactical side of the game. And, it's massive, and that's the thing. Rugby is such a good community. I think everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to, there's no sort of I don't want to give anyone away my trade secrets or whatnot. But everyone just wants to help, and everyone use this as a positive as much as it can be in this, in what is a bit of a bonkers time, really.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, Adam. And you mentioned there, which is pretty much one of the main principles for Lucid, that rugby does bring communities together. And we know in the Premiership that many clubs do have, communities and foundations which they use. And we spoke to Joe Marchant last week on our podcast about the Quins Foundation, and he's been involved with sort of the mental health areas around that. So is it great to see these clubs really taking initiative on these kind of issues?
Oh yes, it's not just the big clubs. I think there's one pretty close to, it's not so much my heart, but where I grew up. It's I'm from Abercrave, but like there's a mental health group called Yorgets, and they're like older boys, and they play touch. Obviously, not playing touch rugby now, but it was built up. I think one of the boys had concussion and had a few issues with that, so he's and they've done some amazing things. They do they've done raise money for charity over this, like bike rides and stuff, and they had like Michael Liner, give him a shout out, Marla, give him a shout out, and Corbus Visa, like and it's, rugby players appreciate how hard it is, and rugby guys appreciate when you don't always see it, but when your teammates down, I think a rugby guy would be that type of, with that type of community where you can go and give someone a helping hand or have a chat or just a bit of a, even if they want to vent or whatever it is. And so no, it's been great to see. I think all rugby clubs have great to see. It's based in Australian license. It's a fantastic cause they're doing, and they're doing some good things.
Yeah. And from a player perspective, Adam, as well, we've had a couple of players who have come on the podcast and they've talked about their injuries and how tough it is for a player to sort of recover from an injury during that setback. And looking at sort of your career, I mean, two of the injuries you picked up were on the Lions tour and in a World Cup semi-final. So you seem to bounce back from a playing perspective really well. But how tough was that period for you during your career?
It was hard. I think the 2009 one the Lions wasn't too bad, just because it was sort of it was the first big injury I had, and I probably played 6 or 7 years constantly international club, playing a lot of games for the Ospreys as well. And it was probably good to have a break, really. I think it probably helped me that way. You obviously miss the rugby, and you miss, I was lucky to have a good, great physios working with me in the Ospreys, Towers and Brian, and they work wonders. And so, it was always a good crack in that, and a good fitness coaches there as well. So it was, but it's the day-to-day rugby you miss, and that's the frustration, really, especially, when you were in a team then, was that 2009-10, we had a good side of the Ospreys, and, we thought we were going to do something special, but obviously we didn't quite get to the level we needed it to be. But it was tough. But I think the semi-final with France was hard for me. It was just because I played in the two sort of biggest games I played in. I got injured in both of them, and that did sort of gutted me a bit. I think I had a few injury-wise. That was, I certainly, it wasn't a massive injury. I think I tore my calf by, I think it was a 10 centimeter tear, which was a decent size, but it was just the fact of the World Cup, and I knew that even if we did get to the final, I wouldn't play, because I wouldn't have been able to be fit enough. So that, straight away, that's what you start thinking about, and then obviously we almost get there. We pushed France as hard as we could, and with 14 men as well, which was pretty impressive. But yeah, as soon as you know with injury, it's a weak injury, you'll be able to get back. No, so that was the hard bit for me. I think that was the really tough bit. Yeah.
And we see with players getting injured as well, Adam, now on social media, teammates do rally around and they may put messages out. Is that really important as well, that every single member of the team gets around these boys? Because with rugby, these injuries could be for a long time. Yeah,
look, it's rugby players are good. There's obviously there's banter and that type of stuff, but when it comes down to it, they always got your back, I think, and that's the main thing. I think it's the biggest difference I've seen over the course of my career from when I started and to when I sort of finished. Then there was that support network around. You've obviously got your family and friends, and your teammates, but there's a support network. There's people you can see if you need to, speak to anyone who can help you just a little bit better, more than the chat. And I think I've always looked back. I think if when I started playing and I started getting, I'm sick of talking about how many I used to get subbed after half an hour, and that, and I got subbed for 5 or 6 test matches, and I got injured in a game then for the Ospreys on I think it was a week before we played the French, and I was glad, because I didn't have to go through the sort of didn't have to go through the humiliation of being subbed after half an hour, and I was glad I got injured. I'm glad I was out injured, but there was no network. No one really knew how to help me. I was devastated. I was gutted. It was you know, I reverted back to my bad habits of eating and, you know, drinking too much. And I didn't have that sort of, as you know, players were probably a little bit more, not they didn't know what to say, but back then it was a bit more like, it was just a pat on the back, well, oh, you'll be right, Bob, you'll be right, or whatever. But it was almost, it was really tough to do on your own, really. And and I had a great career in the end after it, but that sort of block of 6 months, I was glad I got injured then against Munster in a game, just because I just didn't want to go through the humiliation, really.
And it seems, just listening to you, Adam, that sort of stigma around players not knowing what to say is starting to be less now, because a lot of people know, and it's more in the public eye about mental health awareness. And with Luced's, Sean Edwards is actually the patron of the foundation, and Mark's very close to Sean, aren't you, Mark? And it was great to hear his views the other week.
Yeah, we share a passion for broken noses. You will know him obviously a lot closer and longer than I've ever known him. What was he like to work with close up, and those legendary training sessions that he talks about?
I loved him. I thought he was so good with me. Like when I was a player, I craved simplicity, and I craved the coaches just giving me a job to do and be good at that one job sort of thing. And be like, when Gatland and Sean came in, he was very much be what they want a traditional tight end prop to be. You know, do well in the scrum. You know, tackles. You know, if you have to carry as hard as you can and hit rucks, and do your job in the line. And that was simple. And before, but that, there was a bit, you know, some coaches wanted to be all singing, all dancing, and they wanted. And I think it wasn't just them. It was me. I saw what Gethin Jenkins was like. I saw what Duncan Jones was like. You know, I wanted to be a bit more like them, but when I wasn't. So when Gats and Sean came in, they simplified everything down, and made you just make your tackles and scrum well and hit rucks, and that was simplified everything for me. And Sean was great because he, it was probably when the lucky ones. I never really got too many of the stares off him, or the angry looks, because he sort of he obviously had never played prop, so and so he didn't. I remember him saying to me, he never, he understands how hard it is in the scrum for a tight end, from speaking to people like Phil Vickery and these type of guys, and so he realizes just how much you kind of you put your body through. So if you did actually do anything with Sean well in the game, a tackle or whatever, he'd probably overpraise the tight ends because he saw that as the hardest job in the field. And so he was great. I loved him. We had a team of people who didn't want to blitz, didn't want to blitz defence, and we had a team of boys who were against it. And it was almost one of those ones where he came in and he said, if you don't want to blitz, then get out of the room. For the 3 or 4 years I'd been there, there was always reservations about it. No one really wanted to do it and wanted to whatever. But it was he came in and said, "Oh look, this is what we can do," and this is it. Just get out of the room for this. And one thing it does stick with me always with Sean is I'd had a year where I think the Ospreys, and I'd signed for the Blues, and then I'd retired. Anyway, I'd retired from international rugby, and we were in London, and we were just having a coffee, myself and the wife, and I had a phone call, and Sean's number comes up, and it was bizarre because he just sort of said, "Oh look, I'm get to retire, but you've been amazing, and I just wanted to wish you all the best in the future." It wasn't more than a 20-second call, but it meant so much being him as well, because he's Sean Edwards, and I grew up watching the great Wigan team, and him playing. But the fact he took time just to ring me to say, congratulations on the career, and I enjoyed working with you, blah blah blah, and it kind of took me. I just started crying on the phone, and then I hung up on it. So it meant a lot.
Yeah, he's been that's brilliant. He's been defiantly and brilliantly honest with us since he's been associated with Luceds, and it's a pleasure to have him. The shoulder he adds to the weight of what we're trying to do is massive. Yeah. It goes without saying. Brilliant to hear.
He's he was just, and I got so much time for him. He's I think if we were the boys, used to find him a bit like you know, because you'd have that face and you'd be quite angry and you wouldn't say much and all that. But I had so much time for him. You know, I remember we played Italy away, and we were there was a group of us on a table who we'd call the boys who didn't mind a drink. And there was a group on the other tables, the more professional boys, not more professional, but more the boys who, you know, looked after themselves a bit better. And he came over and sat with us because he was like, oh, I'm on the coach's table or the management table, nobody's drinking, I'm not fun. So he came and sat with us because he wanted to have a few red wines and get on the beer a bit. So he was, I got a lot of time for him. And yeah, I'm glad that he's doing really well in France now.
Yeah.
I think Mark might have been on the wrong end of one of Sean's deadly stares in the past, because Mark used to play with Sean way back when.
A million years ago, yeah. It's all black and white.
And we'll probably come on to, well, we'll definitely come on to sort of your time with Wales later on, Adam. But let's just go back to the start for when rugby started for you. You mentioned before that you played for your local team, and I was reading an article that Rugby Journal did, I think, a couple of years ago, which was republished a few months ago, and it mentioned sort of that rugby was obviously a passion for you at school, and sort of the textbooks were secondary. Is that right?
Yeah. Oh, look, I didn't. My older brother was, you know, very academic, really bright. Sort of, I think he was head boy in school, sort of straight A student, and I was probably polar opposite, really. Not because I wasn't like, I was never a dick, and I wasn't really a, you know, I'd never really get in trouble, but I just didn't have the sort of capacity to work. And you know, if it was something I enjoyed, then I loved it. You know, I knew, you know, you asked me anything about rugby in the 80s, 90s, 70s even, I would have probably answered on music and stuff and certain. But like, I couldn't get my head around school, you know, and it only took me, I got 3 GCSEs in the end, and I only got the 3 because my mother took me to a tutor who did the English and maths, which I got English and maths. So when I put my mind to it, I was all right. I could like do the tough subject, but then I got catering as well, which is unsurprising, really. But yeah, but no, I enjoyed the crack with the boys. Just you know, just didn't want to put the work in, really. It was just, and then the stupid thing was, when I did get my GCSE results, you know, I remember I just sat in my bedroom crying, thinking like, you know, what have I done? No, what have I done? What, you know, I haven't worked hard enough, and I didn't get them. But then, you know, when I look back at it, I didn't work hard enough. I didn't, you know, I'd worked hard enough to get the 3, and I did. But, you know, the other ones I just didn't. I was more concerned about playing rugby and eating, really.
And with your rugby, Adam, obviously you joined Neath. And we had Jonathan Davis on the podcast probably about a month ago, and he spoke so fondly about his time at Neath. And if I'm right in saying, Adam, you joined the club when you were 19, if that's right?
Yeah, so I played for Abercrave, my local team, and we had a good side. You know, we played in it was called the Central Leagues, which is pretty, you know, tough, forward orientated. So I got a chance to play against a lot of older boys and a lot of old props to, you know, learn and you know, have a few digs off. But it was no, I really enjoyed playing. You know, all of us are good mates in the club. You know, a lot of within sort of 5-6 years of each other. So it was all you know, a good laugh. But I never took it really seriously. I played sort of district level and this type of thing, and county level. But like, you always on the bench county level, but never quite like got to the World 16s, 18s, 19s, that type of thing. And but no, I was a guy called John Davis, who was you know, the sort of secretary of the youth team in Abercrave. He said, "Oh, do you want to go to Neath, the under 21s league?" And yeah, I was like, "Oh, amazing!" Yeah, I wasn't fit, and he said, "We had a meeting in the Knoll, and Roland Phillips was a coach. Who, I don't know if you met Roland. You know, straight away he's pretty, well, actually he's unbelievably engaging. You know, you fall for him straight away, sort of thing. And he's such a good bloke and good laugh. And you know, he said, we're just going to work on the skills over the summer. You know, we don't know. We know we're probably not fit enough, but we're going to have to see what sort of skill level you guys are." And yeah, went from there. So obviously, no fitness in the summer helped me. Well, it didn't help me, but appealed to me. Just train every week. Got into it, and we had the first game. I think we did it playing against Cardiff, and we did really well in the scrum. And went from there. And I had a good front row as well. So the first game, there was a guy called Mark Jones, the prop, and Adam Matthews hooker, and myself. And you know, we had a few. I think Steve Tandy was playing. He was our captain, and Kevin James. It wasn't a massive amount of first teamers because the squads weren't that big then. But so I enjoyed it. Second game was the first time I came across Paul James. So obviously, and then I played best part of over a decade with Paul, then with Neath and the Ospreys in Wales, and came across Paul and became firm mates. And we always did well in the scrum. And Lynn was lucky enough to sort of invite me to train the first team, and so slowly get in there. My parents even funded my first year there. Like you get sort of bonuses for winning and this type of stuff, but I wasn't paid by Neath. So my parents would help me. I was still living at home anyway, so I'd go training with a guy called Andrew Howells and Tristan Davis from Aston Villa. They'd go over the valley, and so I trained with them. But no, I loved it. It was such a good club. It was you were kind of done by 11 every day. You get in early. You get in for the weights 8 o'clock. You'd be done by 11, and you'd be back in Abercrave then by 12. So it was I loved it. It got a little bit more professional as time went on, but it kind of stopped then. I think we started training twice a day, which was unheard of, and so we kind of had to stop it, and because the boys were unhappy, but I think Lynn was unhappy as well. But no, I loved it. It was a great club, great boys. He was everything I expected from what you hear about Neath. I think when Jiffy played it, the team was full of crazy guys, but we certainly had a team in the last year of Neath as a professional team. Crazy guys, but from a different sort of perspective. I think we had 7 boys who bloody drink driving bands, so it was ridiculous. But Lynn's clever, so I think 3 of them got sacked, so Lynn got them in on cheap contracts. So he was quite clever like that, Lynn.
It's clear that you enjoyed your time at Neath, Adam, and you mentioned something interesting there, that your mum and dad funded you to sort of carry on playing. Was that the moment where you thought, actually, this could potentially be something I want to pursue as a career, or did that come further down the line for you?
I'd never thought of it before. I'd never played for Wales under 21s or anything. Oh, sorry, Wales under 19s or anything like that. But they kind of looked at it from the perspective of I didn't go to university. My brother went to university, went to Loughborough, and I didn't, so they kind of looked at that first year as a university year for me then, just to help me out as much as I could. And, look, my mum's a teacher, my dad was a mechanic, and, weren't overly, weren't from working class background. We were working class background family, grandfathers of mine. The other dad was he was in the war, and then he was a bloody cattleman, and very efficient poacher of fish. My other grandfather, I think. So I think, and they, that's what it was like. That's what he used to feed the family. We'd go take my dad down the river and have to poach fish to feed the family after when he was a kid. So it was all working class, but no, they were amazing. Never wanted for anything. They were massive supporters all through my career, and it was my dad would, even when I was playing when I was in college, he'd come and watch me. He'd be in work at 5 o'clock every morning or 5:30, and he'd come and watch me play for college wherever I was playing around Wales, whether it's Ystrad or Coshkeys or whatever it was, and he'd always be there, and even and then come Neath, and they were both there every game, so very supportive.
And from Neath, Adam, obviously comes the Ospreys, and in that sort of rugby journal article, you talk about the moment where sort of the team was getting formed, and if I'm right in saying it was in a vodka revolution, if that's right. And I mean, most of my chats with Rob about rugby are in vodka revolution near where we live, but that must have been quite a surreal moment for you to be sat there as a young player going into a new team. Is always tough, but sort of been at the start of something must have been even stranger for you.
Yeah, because I just been picked to go on the Welsh tour in the summer, and I remember having a phone call from Lynn saying, "Oh look, we're going to merge with Swansea." I was like, because there was a lot of chat about it. There's a lot of chat about a North Wales development team, and I'd been kind of put forward to go up there. So all this type of stuff. But I was happy to be in the Neath Swansea side, and he said, "Oh look, we're going to triple your wages," which was amazing, but still wasn't probably 22 grand, isn't it? So it wasn't. It wasn't. There was no footballer's money certainly. So no, it was good. It was a weird one because obviously the jersey was black. There was a lot of Swansea fans would be, they did the Maltese crosses on the jersey. There wasn't really anything from Swansea on it, apart from there was a little bit of white, and the away jersey was the white jersey, like the Swans, and so we it was a strange one. We all were told to come down and do a Q&A. Shane Williams came in the white jersey, Scott Gibbs came in the black jersey. Everyone was just mingling around. There's about must have been, can't be more than 100 people in there and a few fans, and it was just like open the questions up, and I think Blythe, the chairman, opened the questions up, and he was all about the jersey. There was no like positivity around, we're merging two good sides together here. We got a lot of good players. It was all about why haven't got anything Swansea based, why is it black, and why is the Maltese cross? So it was surreal, and the fact like it was very Welsh, it was very tribal, and there's still fans from Neath I know wouldn't go and watch the Ospreys now, sort of all these years later, 17 years later. So Wales is a funny place like that. But it was good. Look, we went on to do good things. We did that. It took us a while. The first year, we think we'd won a 10-game losing streak at one point, and then we benefited mainly. I think we benefited from having a year together, but we also benefited from the Celtic Warriors. So we got Sonny Parker, Evan Cobain, Ryan Jones, David Bishop, these type of guys, good players, and so we did well out of that. So which was actually quite a horrible situation, just boys just being auctioned off to be the highest bidder. So that was horrible, but we got a good few players from that, and we had a good side, and it was exciting to be part of the Ospreys because we had the Mike Cuddy and Roger Blythe, the other guys as well. They were they backed the club and wanted us to go on to bigger things. So when all of a sudden you get the Justin Marshalls coming in, your Mike Phillipses, Jerry Collins, Matty Ola, Philo Tia, Jason Spices, a lot of these guys are coming in. It was an exciting time to be involved in it.
Yeah, you mentioned those big names there, Adam, that come in, and I know the term Galacticos has been used around the Ospreys. But for you, do you see it as the Galacticos, or a mixture of both? Because you did still have those kind of roots in the team as well.
Yeah, I think I guess that's the one thing that does pee me off a bit about it is the fact that they call it Galacticos. We did have some rock stars like Tommy Bowe came in as well. These type of guys. But the bread and butter for me was your front five. And pretty much everyone of our front five was homegrown. Yeah, you had Paul James, Duncan, Hugh Bennett, Hibbard, myself, Alan Wynne, Ian Evans, Jonathan Thomas came through Swansea, albeit from Pembroke. There was no the front five and we were, without wanting to be, our scrum and our forward pack was probably as strong as like the individuals we had. That was probably one of the best collective parts of our game. The fact we had a good scrum, we had a good line a pack, and the fact it was all all homegrown. So that's the one thing that kind of rankles me when they say is that yes, we had Jerry Collins, yes, we had Matty Hall, these guys were amazing, and I'd love to see that type of guy come back to the Ospreys. But the fact we had our whole front five was homegrown was certainly pretty satisfying for me anyway.
And I know you must be sick of the nickname of the Hair Bears with Duncan Jones, but does that kind of put a smile on your face because people do recognise that you two played alongside each other despite all the big names?
Yeah, mate, it was. It was never anything we planned or anything. We just kind of came back. And, I came back from the 21s World Cup, and I dyed my hair blonde, so I kind of grew it out. Duncan had just started seeing his wife Jo, and I knew Joe in college, and Joe definitely told him to grow his hair a bit longer, because he looks better. So, we just grew together. Obviously, the surnames and the same position confuses everyone. Yeah, so I knew we were called other things as well, but it was a fun time to be involved in it. We never, I wouldn't say either of us ever wanted to court the limelight, but it was just something, certainly with the hair then gets dragged towards you.
And people may remind themselves of you, Adam, because of that sort of link up with Duncan. But obviously, you moved from Ospreys to Cardiff Blues, and I think another one of the standout moments that we've talked about when you were playing there for Cardiff is the attempted drop goal against Munster that it seems to have done the rounds on social media. Yeah. I mean, I saw, I think you did something for Scrum 5, a podcast for them, and it said, "Oh, you didn't realise the ball was coming towards you." What do you make of that moment? Because it seems to have got a lot of views on you.
Well, I wish I'd gone on. I wish I'd gone over. But it was. It was a tough year that for me. The whole situation, not being with the Ospreys and then leaving and then going to the Blues, it was tough, and it was a bit of it was a weird year with the Blues anyway. Mark Hammett coming in, everyone expected big things, and then all of a sudden he's gone sort of January time, and so it was bizarre. And then it just probably added to the bizarreness of it all, me trying to drop goal. And it was straighter than I thought. But yeah, for some reason, Lloyd Williams passed. Lloyd Williams Yeah, Lloyd Williams. Yeah, scrum half. Yeah. Christ, I played with him. Yeah, he passed me the ball for some reason, and I thought, we had a penalty anyway, so I thought I'd just have a pop, and yeah. I'd prefer to went over, but no, it was... at least it was one of the more cheery things of the season.
It was the running away with a smirk on your face that really tickled me.
Yeah. Embarrassed. I don't know what to do, really.
Because Rob showed me, and I was like, surely the game's done and dusted by that time, but it's 21-all.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but we had a penalty, so I thought,
you might as well.
Yeah, may as well have a crack. I did look, my ankles were very heavily strapped, so maybe I didn't have the flexibility in my ankle to get enough elevation on the ball. But yeah, it was blind panic more than anything.
And you've not been doing any kicking masterclasses with the Quins lads, have you, since you've been?
No, we used to, after the training session on the Friday in the stoop, the coaches have a kicking comp, and obviously we got Nick Evans, who was
I was going to say
one of the great kickers. He has to kick left-footed. We have Sean Long now, who apparently kicked 2,000 odd points for St Helens, but you wouldn't know because his left foot. Well, I haven't seen him kick a drop goal over yet, so I'm because I've seen some of the ones he's put over for St Helens to win games, to win massive games, and I see him on the field trying to kick a drop goal. It just baffles me. He is shocking.
And just before we go on to sort of your international time, on a more of a serious note, really, looking back at your time at Ospreys, I mean, how much did you enjoy it? Because, you made so many appearances, and you mentioned before that, you did so well domestically, and Europe was always something you strive for as a team, but just couldn't get over that final hurdle.
I loved it. We had such a good bunch of boys. Lynn was amazing, and Lynn went, and we had John Humphreys, Sean Holly, we had a great group. And as I said, it's exciting to have the the Jerrys, JCs coming in, the Philo Tiatias, Marty Holler, these type of guys who's class. And we didn't do as well as we should have. I think the year for us would have probably been 2010. I think if we played Biarritz and we lost to Biarritz. The year before we got pumped by Munster in the quarterfinal. The year before that we lost to Saracens, who just. I don't know. We played them a week before in the EDF Cup in the stadium and Millennium Stadium in the semi-final. We put 40 points to them. And I think they made 2 changes. I'm not sure what they were. I think maybe Glenn Jackson had come in and Richard Hill had come in. And they just transformed them. They beat us comfortably then. And well, they didn't beat us comfortably, but we should have. I think we underestimated them. But 2010, it was great winning all the leagues. 4 of the Celtic leagues was amazing. Just that. If we pushed further a bit more in Europe, it would have been, it would have been good for the region as such a young region as well.
And you mentioned when we started talking about Ospreys, then Adam, that along with that came obviously your first call up for Wales around that time. I mean, just before we sort of go on to your debut, being against England in the Six Nations is always going to be massive. But what was it like for you to first be involved with the Wales camp at that time?
I was terrified. I got called in late 2002 for a camp, like a 2-day camp in the Vale with it wasn't a camp, it was 60 players came there. So basically the 60 best players in Wales at the time was probably about 60 players and decent players at the time as well. But no, I'm only joking. It was I just went in and I was just nervous, seeing Neil Jenkins and all these type of guys. I think Guy Young might have been there. A lot of them were the guys who still played now 2009, like Wyatt and Craig Cornell, and they were few of those were there. But then you had Rob McBride was there, and he was one of the first ones that came and introduced himself, which was amazing. So obviously seen Rob play a lot, and it was just a bit bizarre really. It was I probably didn't say anything for 2 days. Just stood there, got on with it, and hid in the corner as much as I could. And
I'm not sure this was after your debut, Adam. You say there that you didn't say anything for 2 days, but I think you guys went on a tour to New Zealand. I don't think you played there, but it seemed like the team really bonded over there because there was a story that you said you had a few pints and bumped into you going to be Coach Warren Gatland at the time.
Yeah, I was trying to get him to sign me for Wasps. So the boys weren't playing this. Me, Alex, probably. I think what just who passed away recently. Well, at least at the start. few pints in, I don't know, we got wind of that Andrew Ho, the fitness coach, was out and about looking for us. So we tried basically running. Hamilton's not particularly big, and the strip's not particularly big at all. So it's we just try to go from bar to bar, avoiding Hori, and it was a great night. And I sort of met Gats and had a bacon triple cheeseburger, and I thought this is the time for me to actually try to get into the Premiership and with the Wasps. But he didn't remember when I brought it up with him. So.
And just going back to your Wales debut, Adam, coming against England, I mean, what was that kind of experience for you like? Because you're at home, you're at Cardiff, it's a six-nation game, it's against England, it has all the ingredients, doesn't it?
Oh, well, it was actually the World Cup warm-up game.
Oh, was it the World Cup warm-up game?
Yeah, so I was just, obviously, I think it came on with probably about 18 minutes to go. I'd worked hard in pre-season, I'd worked my balls off in, with the fitness and that, with Steve Hansen and Andrew Ho. So I was, I worked as hard as I could, and so I was amazing to get a cap. It was amazing, probably even more amazing to play against Jason Leonard in my first cap, which was, something. I looked someone as an English player I was allowed to look up to, because he was my mother's favourite player. So it wasn't many English players you were to like, when certainly in my mother's mind. So, and he was the one. So to play against him was special as well. And we got hammered, but it was our sort of first team against their second team, and they beat us comfortably. And but England, they were class at the time, and but we got a bit close to them in the World Cup. But it was an amazing experience. The whole World Cup was class. It was from Scott Johnson getting in, all the sort of Australian legends to speak to us, from sharing apartments with players rather than hotels. Seeing the country. It was and doing so well, getting the quarterfinals. It was unreal, to be fair. I look back at it now, I probably didn't appreciate how good it was at the time, but now it was fantastic.
You're one of only a few players to win 3 Grand Slams for Wales. Obviously, as a Welsh supporter myself, very proud of that. But how proud are you to be able to achieve that? And which one is your favourite?
It was certainly the first one. Obviously a group of 7, post-war guys, was just class. But I think probably the last one, and I probably offered most. I probably did most in it. Yeah. I was more of a senior player. I wasn't a senior player, but I was more of a cog, in the team then, and probably offered more to the team then. For 2005, I think I was just happy to be there. Just happy Steve Hansen going back to New Zealand, and then Mike Ruther was playing for me longer than like half hour. So that in 2008, Gats came in, and Sean obviously changed everything, so we caught everyone a little bit surprised. But no, 2012 I think was probably my favourite one, because I was more involved in it and offered more to the team, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure as well, Adam, I know it wasn't a Grand Slam for you, but that victory over England in 2013 is up there as well. Oh yeah,
it was that was probably
Look at Rob smiling.
I don't know if it's up to as a Grand Slam, but it was just the whole. I think we played our game against Scotland, and then we watched the England-Italy game, and they only beat them by 8 points, or beat them by, which needed us to win by 8 points then, maybe. And so we knew, Christ, there's a chance here. Because we thought they'd stuff Italy, and we'd probably just have to spoil the party, beat them and spoil the party, a chance to win the championship as well. But as it transpired, it was, it all worked in our favour, and it was. I think I was one of those games you knew from probably a few times in my life I've gone into an anthem and knew we're going to win the test. Just how the stadium was that day is, you obviously don't know. We got that feeling, that you're going to win this test, and it was class. It was the first time they sort of on the chorus bit of in Radvanada, they sort of stopped the music, and it was just the crowd. And speak to the English boys in the lines through after it was they didn't know I was coming.
No better feeling than beating England. I get a lot of stick for living in England, born in England. Support Wales because of my mum and my grandparents, but no better feeling, the underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
Smaller nation.
All those years of don't want to go down too far down the rabbit hole of why the Welsh hate the English, but
I think that's a whole podcast in itself, Adam.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously lining up alongside you that day was your good mate Alan Wynne-Jones. You've spoken so well about him, I know, last year. for the Six Nations as well. You spoke so well about him. I mean, we see him, and Rob will definitely see him as such a leader and a warrior on the pitch. And what is he like on the pitch? But what more so is he like off the pitch as well? Because he seems like such a gentle giant as well.
Oh, and he's on the pitch, like when he was he captained me, he was a lot younger than us, to be fair. Like he's still, so he was almost like he's probably grown into the role the older he's got, and with his age, he's probably become a different sort of captain where everyone looks up to him as a leader, father figure, probably all these different things. But no, I mean he's unreal. He's such a good player. My brother texted me the other night. Actually, he was asking about the Michael Jordan documentary and how competitive he was and how he was with the players. And I'm not saying Al was quite like that, but there's certainly that there's an element of that about him. Not around how he speaks to them, but how he trains, how he pushes himself every time, and how he. He was always the same when he first came through. He was this big lump. He was always 100%. If you're holding a bag, he was 100%. If you were doing anything, even like a warm-up drill, he'd want to do it 100%. And even with the Lions, when he got subbed in the first test in Australia, he ran off as fast as he could because he wanted to prove to the coaches he wasn't tired enough. And so he's very he's driven like that. But no, off the field he's mellowed out. He's chilled out a lot over the last sort of 5 years since he's had Mali Have. His daughter and Eva, but he's people don't see really what he's like, and he's very. I don't know if I call him a gentle giant because he can be a bit of a pain in the ass and can be a bit grumpy, can he? But he's definitely he's not nothing like he is on the field, off the field.
And he's been part of this era for Wales, which has seen you guys get really, really successful with the Six Nations, but also go really deep into World Cup tournaments as well, Adam. I mean, just to go back to sort of 2007, if you don't mind, because that was sort of the end, the start, if that makes sense. So how do you reflect on 2007 and kind of what changed in those 4 years for you guys to get to a semi-final of the World Cup?
I just, obviously Gats coming in and there was a different type of professionalism, but just probably not professional. The boys were professional, but it was probably just a different game plan, different type of mindset, really. It was very, sometimes before that, it could be a bit more player-led, but not player-led in a good way. It was, taking the easy way out, and you were kind of made under no illusions that you were going to, work hard with Gats and, you get your rewards. So that was a massive thing, and it was. I think the first Grand Slam, you can shock people. You tweak a few things, but you shock teams, and I think we did a little bit there. But and obviously people say it's a shock, but then obviously their records, or the Gats' record, then over the other years, then is unreal. Obviously the 2008 World Cup a lot of Lions players in 2009, World Cup in 2011, again Lions Grand Slam. Six Nations title, another Grand Slam, another World Cup semi. So it's no fluke, and and I'll be in there and being that sort of driving force through it all. Gets these boys who come in, they realise what sort of level they have to be at to play, and obviously over the years, then you pick up your sort of Tippricks and your John Davises and your Dan Biggers, these type of guys as the senior players. Ken Owens has come from to see how he came from where he first came in the Welsh squad to what he Lions, and he was a good player. But just like a bit like myself, didn't want to train too hard. But the fact again, he was so 100% that it's he's come on leaps and bounds, and for having Al there as that sort of driving force is probably a massive part of it as well. Him and Gats, I think the relationship grew and grew, and then every player wants to play for them.
And you mentioned in previous interviews as well, Adam, about kind of Warren Gatland did help change this new era, and the face of Welsh rugby, I think is the term that you used. And I know your relationship around sort of when you retired from the game is well documented with him. But how do you look back on that period now?
Oh, he was massive. He changed my whole. He changed my career. Him coming in, as I said, he had good guys around me though. With you had a guy called Craig White, who was a fitness coach with him, and John Williams, nutritionist, Sean, these guys, muckers. They kind of all chipped in to change me, and it took me a while probably tell those need to twig consistently what I need. Give me the carrot that, you know, if I was performing and in this sort of weight, then we'll pick you. We're going to pick you, and that was all I needed. And yeah, so he was a massive part of it. And you know, obviously I'd like to go on a bit further and Grand Slam played a couple of years longer, or years so longer. But yeah, no, look, I was appreciative of everything he did with me.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of Mark mentioned when we were sort of planning the podcast, Adam, you know, you want it was about, I think last week was 4 years ago since you made your 100th and final test appearance, obviously 5 with the Lions and 95 with Wales. I mean, when your international career was cut short, I mean, how tough was that for you to take? Because at the time you were still playing some really good rugby.
Oh, it was horrendous. It was like, I think the whole sort of year after it, yeah, it was. I just had to struggle to talk about it. I got subbed after half an hour in South Africa in my 95th test, my 100th one, and it was almost like the whole my career had gone, you know, totally flipped around from when the start to finish. But I think the big one for me was, and I think, and this, I kind of get a different view of Mark Hammett to a lot of people have in Cardiff. I remember having the phone call off Gats and then Robin saying, "Oh, look, we're not picking you in this autumn international squad." And I remember sitting in the car just crying my eyes out for about 20 minutes. Just didn't, you know, hadn't for the last 11 years it'd been my sort of part of my day-to-day life, you know, playing for Wales. And and I get now if coaches don't think you're good enough, you're not good enough. Then I get that now. But at the time it was really tough. You know, I remember, you know, looking out at the Cardiff City football field, just like bawling my eyes out. And it was, to be fair, it was Mark Hammett who spoke to me, you know, a while, no, it wasn't a while, in the afternoon, I think, after the session. He said, how are you feeling? And he was like, oh, you know, it's obviously a shit question, but how are you feeling? And he was like, and we just had a chat, and we kind of related things, you know, so it's a bit like, you know, losing someone, losing a part of your family, you know, which, well, unfortunately, a couple of years later for me, when I lost my mum, it's nothing like losing your family, but, so it was one of those, but at the time it was like an analogy which I kind of you know, clung on to a wee bit, and yeah, so it was no, I was lucky he was there, because we didn't have a long chat, like 10 minutes, but it was a good chat and kind of put things into perspective a little bit. And so no, it was a tough time. I struggled, you know. It's you know, again, I'm pretty much a you know, I bottle things up, you know, and I'd rather just keep everything in rather than speak about stuff. So, you know, but it was, you know, I guess it was an element of bitterness as well there for a while. But I think it's funny. It's you know, it was times it was times when I, you know, wasn't really watching the rugby much, but then I kind of found myself now going back full circle to being like a fan again. You know, I think when Al won the Grand Slam, you know, I was crying in the box in the stadium watching it. When they lost to South Africa in the semi-final, it was like I was in an hotel before a game, and it's just like see myself filling up, because just you know what it, you know, the boys have gone through, and you know, we're pretty, you know, the Welsh are pretty passionate, and this one, it was a tough one.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've mentioned sort of, you know, the emotions at the time for you, Adam, were tough, but you said it there actually, that you're now, you know, more of a fan of Wales and you've got a bit more perspective on things as well. So how was that experience like for you, being a fan of Wales?
Oh man, I love it. It's, yeah, I grew up watching it. I grew up, my mum gave me a clipper on you because I was embarrassed to be a Welsh fan when we lost to France by 30 points, and next, you know, back of the head. But yeah, it was no. Look, I've gone full circle. You know, I'm very passionate Welsh. I was watching a documentary about the football. You know, it's not just the rugby. It's just, you know, me and my mate were watching Wales Portugal semi-final in Woking. You know, when we lost in the European Championships a few years ago, and it's just, no, it was again just we both bloody bawling our eyes out. We'd had a few pints, so it was a bit different. It was it's just, you know, that's how the Welsh are. They're very very passionate, very emotional, and you know, certainly around the sport as well. And it's I'm glad to be back in that sort of mindset where I want the Welsh boys to do well all the time.
And you mentioned as well, Adam, that Warren had such a positive impact on your career, and obviously he takes you on tour in 2013 with the Lions, and obviously experienced 2009 under Sir Ian McGeechan. And in terms of going on the Lions tour, and that's 2009, what was that experience like for you when you were told you were going to be part of a British and Irish Lions tour?
Oh, it was so 2009 was amazing. It was I probably would they expect to go. I probably went as third choice tight end in the end, I reckon. We all find out Sean Oddie told everyone who was going. We were training up in the Vale Hotel in Cardiff, in the barn, and it was a funny one because Brian Jones did make it, Hookie did make it first off, and but no, we so to have like 6 odd boys in there, was even like with Tommy Bowe and Arthur Island as well. That was amazing. But 2013, I guess. I never want to count chickens too early, but I probably thought I had a good chance of making it, and a good chance of making the test team in 2013. How sort of that Six Nations ended up. So yeah, it was. It's always exciting. It's weird when there was more. I wouldn't say it was more excited, but just to see Hibbard was in the making the tour. Ian Evans making the tour. That was another. I was obviously chuffed a bit for them as well. So we it was a great. It's an amazing thing to be part of. I enjoyed every second of it, even get injured, even the losses, but I think I was lucky to go now, and I haven't spoken to people about what the 05 one was like. Boys like O'Driscoll and these type of guys, they said it was totally different. And I think Gats and Ian McGeechan after, Gerald Davis and these type of guys have to have a, big pat on the back for how they've brought the traditional values back around to what the Lions needs to be like.
You obviously mentioned kind of the 09 tour. The results and injuries kind of curtailed it a little bit and maybe didn't produce sort of the results I think everyone was hoping for. But we've kind of heard Hugo Monnier, one of our ambassadors, and Jamie Roberts, when he's sort of got involved with us, talking about just how incredible that tour was and how it made them basically fall in love with South Africa. Yeah. What was it about that tour that kind of just seems to have resonated with everyone so much?
I think it's. I think the boys were good. It was, as I said, it was a lot. It was well. It was very traditional. I think like first of all, there was no cliques. There was no. Everyone was like in it together from day one. There was no. One team's doing this, one team's doing that. There was no 2 separate coaches, coaching teams. All one, and you were made to know that from the off. And but no, it was the best thing. I just love the fact that everyone's a good bloke. You could have a beer with anyone, a coffee with anyone. There was no like. People you'd want to purposely avoid or anything, and maybe Andy Powell, but it was just a great tour. South Africa's rugby mad as well, which helps. It's just crazy, and so going there and I think growing up watching the Living with the Lions documentaries, kind of have a feel of what South Africa's like, and to be part of a Lions tour in South Africa then is certainly special. And I think I might be a line from the Living with the Lions documentary. I think. But I loved it. I loved both the tours. Australia was a bit weird because it was probably more British fans than Australian fans, and we were there's bigger things going on out there at the time, like the football, the cricket, and whatnot. But I absolutely loved every second of it.
And one of the standout moments from 09, Adam, again, you said it in an interview, was sort of that first scrum that you had against the Beast. A lot was talked about that, and obviously England didn't do their job in the World Cup by taming him, but you were able to in 2009. I mean, you've mentioned that your mum and dad were in the ground at that time, if that's right in saying. What was that moment like for you? Did you feel like pressure or any nerves, or was it excitement or a mixture of everything?
It's probably, I didn't feel too bad, but my wife was in, my mother, father, my best mate, one of my, Andy Newman, who split with me with Nathan Osprey. So he was just like, he was so on edge about the first scrum. He was just like gripped my mate's leg and just wouldn't let go. And then obviously the crowd is, sort of, there's a bit of, what's the word? There's a bit more noise then. You can sort of feel the sort of, the build up for the scrum, and it was it was massive. It was like I could hear that, I knew that, so I knew, I was pretty aware. I was ready for the scrum, but I was aware there was a massive emphasis on the scrum, and fortunately it went right.
Team obviously bonded well. You've said that there, but must have been extra special as well for you to be packing down alongside your fellow Welshies in Gethin Jenkins and Matthew Rees on the tour.
Yeah, mate, it was class. Like we all, good mates, we get on really well. Gethin's been miserable at times, but no, it was like, I think it hadn't happened since the 50s. I think it was an all-Welsh front row, so which was, little things that are even more special, than the fact, as I said, there was 6 Ospreys in the squad. Maybe went up to 8 with Hookie and Ryan coming in, albeit very briefly. But it was a fantastic occasion, and we obviously each other and your kind of strengths, and you feel a little bit more comfortable in that front row together. So, but no, it was great. It was great. It's almost one of those things you look back on when you finish more than you did at the time.
You touched on Australia there briefly, Adam, and when we spoke to Ugo Monyu, he said about South Africa, when he scored his try, he looked round and it was just a sea of red everywhere, and he said there was more probably British fans than Australian fans when you were playing in that tour of Australia. But did you get the sense of the occasion and what it meant to the British and Irish Lions and the supporters that you were able to get that win over the line? Because if I'm right in saying it was the first series win for over 15 years. Yeah,
I think it was massive. It was the fans were always amazing, and obviously the South Africa tour went a bit didn't go as they wanted, but I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves the last week by losing the second test, but it was very calm. It was, obviously Gats was probably quite clever and, not clever, but no one ever thought he was going to drop Drico. But he almost took any pressure off the boys then by, doing that. Everyone hated Gats. The Irish couldn't stand him because Drico wasn't going to play in that last test. Gats reverted to his sort of Welsh boys, and obviously it worked, but there was no pressure on the boys that last week because the whole media circus was around Drico not playing. So whether Gats, did that with a little bit in mind as well, it's not to be told, but I don't know. It was such a good it was such a good feeling to win that. It was a tough series. It was we probably could have lost the first test with a kick, but in Melbourne again. But it was a tough series, but we did to win like we did in the last one was phenomenal.
I remember watching the final test in an airport bar with 12 of my mates, and we were off to Ayia Napa for our first proper lads holiday. So to beat Australia in the fashion you did was quite phenomenal, but it also got our holiday off to a belter. So thank you.
No doubt, mate. No doubt.
And the Lions has obviously been a massive part of your life, Adam. And we're gonna put you on the spot a little bit here now, because we've noticed that you have done BBC's version of Mastermind. When Lion was your specialised subject, and we thought maybe we could do a little version, a much shortened version of it now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, are you able to pause this?
Yeah, I can do.
Only because I haven't seen my daughter my wife's gone off for a walk, and my daughter's doing, so I need to go check her. Is that all right?
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Kyle?
Lions questions ready.
We all got a question each, by the way.
Yeah.
On the Lions.
Inevitably, we'll all have the same question now.
I know. Mine was on one of the quizzes that we did.
Sorry.
No worries. No worries at all, Adam. So yeah, like I said, we might put you on the spot here to test, because I know you came second, but very close second. So I think, Mark, we're going to go over to you for the first question.
So right, Adam. So as Chris said, we wanted to put you on the spot. So we've each got a question. My question is: there's only one species of lion, which is scientifically known as Panthera leo. Can you name either of the other two species?
No.
Fair enough. You got 12 out of 12 on the Mastermind one.
Yeah, unfortunately, there was it Lions 1993 to 2005. Yeah. So.
I'll pass over to Rob. Go on.
My one isn't 95 to 2003, but who scored the last try for the Lions?
Ooh. Was it? I don't know if they scored. Was it Conor Murray?
It was in the second test.
Unbelievable.
13 out of 13.
13 out of 13, yeah. Dave?
So, since the first Lions tour in 1888, 835 players have represented the British and Irish Lions. But who was cap number 1?
Adam's thinking, what has he let himself into?
Yeah, no, I mean, I wouldn't have a clue.
Mr. Jack Anderton.
Oh, Jack, I thought it might be. Yeah.
I'll go for my question next, Adam. I think you may get this one as you were involved in the game. Just to go back to the first test against Australia in 2013, how many of your Wales teammates started that first test with you?
Oh,
question.
Is that including me?
Not including you.
Not including me.
And a bonus point if you can name them all.
So I was there.
Yeah.
Alan Wynne.
Mm-hmm.
Warby.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Phillips.
Yeah.
John Davis. George North, Cuthbert. And Halfpenny.
Absolutely spot on.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Mark, I don't know if you've got an actual British and Irish Lions question.
Yeah, I have. It's a bit,
Right.
it's a bit of an easier question than Dave asked. Who was the last Lion?
Who was the last Lion?
So sequentially in the numbers.
Yeah. Oh,
Who was the last Lion?
Oh, I wouldn't have a clue. Go on, tell me.
Go on, do you want to have a stab?
No.
Finn Russell.
Really? You're right, okay. Yeah, no test matches then.
Yeah. I tell you, he's a good phone a friend, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I suppose I made sense with the yeah.
Brilliant. Well, we'll get away from quizzing you now, Adam, and back to sort of your rugby journey. And obviously, you decide to make the move to England and to the Premiership with Harlequins. I mean, what attracted you to play in the Premiership and join the club?
There was nothing I hadn't done it before. Obviously, I'd played the Magners for years and years. Obviously, the Premiership. It's really good. It's also dancing. B2 do a great spread in it for the bloody what would you call them? Fans are good. There's always full houses in most of the ground. But no, I think the thing that attracted me was I was coming towards the end. John Kingston and Connor were like, it's well documented how much I've said. It was a chance to come and work with Kyle, Joe, Collier, these type of guys. It was a chance to come and work with these young props with a view to something down the line. And not so much a view to something down the line, view to me upskilling myself for something down the line as a coach. I wanted a coach, and that's something I kind of made my mind up I wanted to do. But it was a chance to come and work with these guys and see if I can get scenario.
Yeah, you mentioned sort of Joe Marler and Kyle Sinclair there as well, Adam. I mean, what are those guys like to work with?
I think, mate, they're good as gold. Like Kyle's, phenomenally. They're both actually unbelievable professionals. They're, off-field stuff. They both can be a bit emotional at times, but no, they're great, good as gold. I mean, they've never been anything other than great to me to work with. I count them, good mates of both of them, but they're fantastic. It's as I said, both unbelievable professionals, both unbelievable rugby players. I've tried to help them as much as I could, and if I have able to help them, and then all the better. I'm very proud of that. But no, there's when I got there, there was a few. There was nothing you really had to do much of them. Certainly like maybe emotionally, a few of them. They can get a bit emotional at times, both of them, but nothing. Didn't have to actually do much of it. I've been lucky really.
And I know obviously Kyle's moving on to Bristol next season, Adam, but he's mentioned in the recent interview when you first joined the club and he was a bit worried about his place in the team, but then he quickly realised that you were a fantastic person to to learn off. And he said he kept following you around the place and he probably did your head in. But what was it like to kind of be coming as a coach? Because you've used the word mentor as well, to mentor these guys.
No, I was saying I hadn't done it, but I was always happy to help like younger players out, sort of Craig Mitchell and guys with the Ospreys, and Rodri George with Wales, Scott Andrews, or any of the young props who were playing with me at the time. And it was a great opportunity for me, and I love the fact we I kind of knew I was coming towards the end. We had a chance to play together a couple of times. I played Loosehead as well, so that was pretty cool, and that was sync. And it was a great. I just loved the chance and loved the fact he wanted to learn. That was a big thing for me. He wanted to, Sync wanted to learn and wanted to better himself, and that's what he was all about. So he'll be missed with us, and around the group and everything. And as a player, we see when he puts that white shirt on as well for England, then he does incredibly well. And so hopefully, we'll continue to get more caps for England than I did. Oh, well, certainly for Wales.
And over the last couple of years as well, Adam, we've seen Quinn sort of take the next step. Obviously, Paul Gustard's it's come in and he's got great pedigree as a coach. But what's it been like for you to learn off him, if you like, as well?
Yeah, no, he's been class. He's obviously he's done great things with Saracens in England, and he's very knowledgeable of the game first and foremost. And he's got an opinion on every part of the game. Whether it's attack, breakdown, scrum, line out. So that's and he keeps challenging, and so no, he's been great. You can see why he did so well, and he's a good laugh as well. Wants the boys to enjoy, and and what was probably what I've seen more than him is he's in like every part of the game. He's involved with it, and whether it's nutrition, whether it's the how long the session is, how long the blocks of the session are. He's doing well. I think hopefully we can get back to the season, get going now, and see how see us kick on a bit, because the amount of work he puts in is phenomenal.
And it's clear that you really enjoy kind of the coaching role at the moment, Adam, and we touched on there about Kyle and working with Joe as well. But what do you kind of look in a tight head prop when you're coaching or trying to mentor these guys?
You will be quite. You don't have to be like overly aggressive. You've got to be competitive. For me, it's you can work on your shape, you can work on your strength, but if you've got someone who just wants to bail out and doesn't want to fight to stay in there, that's probably the biggest thing, I think. But you've got to be competitive. You've got to want to win. You've got to want to win that little battle in the scrum. So that's huge. That's huge as a prop. And as I say, you don't have to be aggressive. But I suppose you have to be. You don't have to be macho. Then I think would be the word. You don't have to be macho. You just but you've got to want to compete. And even if it's anything, whether it's a fitness test, whether it's weights and stuff, against another prop. You've got to be competitive in it, and that's a huge thing as a tight head.
And before we get on to sort of the final part of the podcast, Adam, where we do your Mars 15, I mean, just in terms of the dark arts of the front row, if you like, I mean, what is it like to be involved in that, and what gets said and talked about at scrum time? Because you hear all sorts on the touchline on the pitch, but I for one haven't been involved in the front row, as you can probably tell.
To be honest with you, it's not that bad anymore. It's not like everyone's too knackered, I think, to actually say anything. Everyone's too, like, every time you have a scrum, there's the ball in play is like 40 minutes, so the boys are tired. There's too much. You would get the odd player like Dave Ward who'll be chirping up all the time. With these, but there's not really much anymore. Like, you can't. There's so many cameras. The sort of dark arts have gone. You can't, you're risking your career if you end up doing something stupid, like biting someone or gouging or anything like that. So, no, it's totally different these days. It's like, I had a few belts when I was younger. From, second row would send one through and punch you, but nothing, you can't, and that's a risky one, because 9 times out of 10, they own hooker anyway. So it's, you kind of, these days, it's kind of gone out the window, I think, any dark art, really. So much pressure, and he was so power orientated and so hard, for want of a better word. It's tough to do. I don't mean, can we hurry up, because I got to go and get some of my daughter. Get on with the next bit, is that right? Sorry.
Yeah, no problem.
Absolutely. So Adam, You're one of the most recognisable faces in world rugby to me, who's seen the images of Frank Cotton, Graham Price of the past. The premise of the Mars 15 is one I think you'll thrive within. But basically, the Martians have landed, challenged us to a game of rugby to decide civilization. Any era, any code, any country, off you go.
So I've gone very. I've actually gonna have to add one here. I've gone very teammate based. So I've gone fullback for talent as well. Lee Byrne. Yeah. He'd be. The two wings would be, because, as you said, it's any era. I'd go Tommy Bowe and Shane Williams.
Yeah.
As two wingers, and you said it's a 4-week trip, so they both love it. So I'd go John Davis on the centre.
Yeah.
One centre, and inside centre would go Alan Bateman.
Oh yes.
So right. You'd obviously been in the league, you'd know Alan Bateman.
Yeah.
Jiffy be my 10, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, like you said, so I tried to pick people who said would be a good crack over the 4 weeks. So Jiffy, and I think sometimes with Jiffy, you kind of listen to him commentate and he gets quite annoying, like he used to anyway. But like then you watch him playing, then he's a different level altogether, and he's such a good player. And this one will be number 9, but I don't know if he'd be 9 in rugby union. I did have Gareth Edwards, but I've changed that now to Sean Long.
Sean Long, oh,
yeah. Current coach in
coaching
argument with me. Love Longy, absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. Number 8, I've gone Merv the Swerve. So for a little bit of Welshness. I've gone opposite flanker, and I've got Marty Holler, who I played with in the Ospreys. Like 30-odd caps for the All Blacks. Kind of makes you realise how good Richie McCaw must have been to keep Marty out of the team. Marty's such a good player. Loved, with night out as well. Jerry Collins on my blind side.
Yeah.
Just, again, another one I was lucky enough to play with. Like, fantastic bloke, mad as a box of frogs, just randomly end up in pubs all over Wales or over the UK via taxi, pay a taxi, and then, there's a story about him, the TV not working in the pub, and him going to the local Tesco, buying the TV and then bringing it back to the pub and then sitting down in the afternoon watching it. My 2 second rows would be Paul O'Connell and Alan Wyn Jones.
Yeah. Just,
both, there's been some class second rows over the years, but those two are different, different level for me. Loose head would be Jason Leonard. Again, the fun bus would, be great for the trip. And I've gone 2 of my favourite players growing up then. So hooker would be Sean Fitzpatrick, who's obviously, legend, and probably one, unless you were a massive rugby head back in the 90s, he played a lot for the All Blacks, but probably went under the radar a bit. But probably the best, for me, one of the best tight ends I played the game was Orlo Brown, who was played for Auckland, played for the All Blacks, unbelievable player. Just really, at the time, there was no props like him. Just, that his body shape, his technique was a different level. And so he's him and Fitzpatrick, my 2 sort of guys growing up as my favourite players, I think. And because Wales didn't do very well when I was growing up. It was just kind of, those are the guys who I looked up to. A coach, I've gone for Lynn Jones.
Yeah.
Lynn Jones found me in Wales, picked me and gave me a career, which, ever grateful for, absolutely barking mad. But, just he'd keep you entertained on the 4-week trip to Mars. Manager, I'd gone Harry Redknapp. I watched that show with him with Paul Merson and Neil Ruddock and the ex-players one a couple of weeks ago, and I just think he's great value, and he's seen on the League of Their Own as well, his son as well, and just very, very, very funny bloke. Kitman would be Rala, who was my Lions kitman for 2 years, for 2 trips. So Rala was amazing. I'd never seen a kitman do stuff he did. He literally had everything for you. He couldn't do enough for you. He couldn't. If you wanted anything in a match day or anything like for a match, Rala had it. And even when we had our little girl, even his wife Dixie even got a little silver spoon. So when I saw him after one of the test matches, he'd give me a little present. And so he's a thoughtful guy as well. And Waterboy, and he's actually nicknamed Bobby Boucher, would be Paul Sturgeon, who's currently the Welsh fitness coach. But big. I think he's a Wigan, isn't he? I think Bobby, and so he's a great crack. You know, he'd be good to have on a 4-week trip.
Brilliant. One last thing, Adam. Who would be your skipper of that team?
Oh, I think I'd have to go Alan Wynne and Paul O'Connell, a half each, I think. You know, no, I won't. I'd go Fitzpatrick.
That's brilliant. Thank you. That's superb. That's class.
No problem.
Great team, Adam. And just before you go, I know Rob picked you in his team to take to Mars, and Dane Coles did as well. Just thought I'd let you know that, Adam, the other week. Dane Coles said he picked you in his team to take on the Martians.
Why did he pick me? Do you think I'd enjoy the 4 weeks?
We'll have to ask him. I think it's probably to do with your playing career, Adam.
Well, I don't know that.
Well, it's been a pleasure to chat to you today, Adam. I really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to have a chat about, obviously, mental health and rugby, but also your playing career and your coaching career with Quins. So wish you all the best going forward. Hopefully we'll see you on the touchline at Quins sooner rather than later. Yeah,
boys, thank you. It's, look, great. And really enjoy doing it. And as you said, it's a big part of the game these days as well, the mental health side of it. And look, you're doing some good things. So thanks for having me. It's been a good laugh. Cheers.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Adam, and cheers again to Rob, Mark and Dave as usual. Dave, just a bit of admin to finish off as usual.
Yeah, just get yourselves over to looseheads.co.uk. Save yourselves 10% if you enter code POD at checkout.
Fantastic. And with it being, well, we're recording, it is Men's Health Week, so no time like the present to get stuff from Looseheads and keep up to date with all the great stuff the guys are doing on social media. They are going to be at the rugby show as well, the virtual rugby show, which takes place on the 26th of June till the 28th of June. So do check out some brilliant interviews the Looseheads guys have lined up. So many thanks to Rob, Mark and Dave again. And that's been another Looseheads podcast in association with Talking Rugby Union.